is that life is short, that you just don't know what's going to happen.
Right now on Denver 7 News at 8 o'clock on Local 3, it has been 1 year since a shooting killed 10 people at a Boulder King Superstore. Today, our community comes together to reflect on the loss and take a moment to honor the lives cut short.
You got to just love your people really well.
Now, words to think about today as we take a live look from the store on Table Mesa Drive. People have come by this morning and have placed a sign there with the 10 names of the 10 lives lost. There are a number of special events happening today to reflect on the tragedy and remember the victims. Also to acknowledge the resilience and sense of community that's helping everyone heal. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Nicole Brady.
And I'm Brian Sanders, and we expect to see many more mementos and services coming up later today. We have special coverage coming up. First, I want to give you a look at the day ahead, a live look from our camera over Mile High Stadium across the skyline. It is a little cloudy out there, and we might see some spotty rain throughout the day, Lisa.
We briefly saw some sunshine out there this morning, and now the clouds have rolled back in. Yesterday picked up a little snow. The roads were mainly just wet, and yeah, there's going to be a rain-snow mix developing here this afternoon. Right now, though, it's just going to be an increase in cloud cover, a little chilly. We're at right around freezing this morning. The winds have been a huge problem out east, some really gusty conditions, and it's been blowing some of the heavier snow that we saw on the eastern plains around. Now, here in town, not expecting, again, much in the way of accumulation, and it's going to be a little warmer today. Should be just above freezing by about 9 o'clock, and then we'll be in the low to mid 40s this afternoon with that chance for a light mix. So highs today still below normal. It's going to get a lot warmer from here. We'll take a closer look at the timing of some of today's wet weather coming up here in just a few minutes. Plus, I'll have a look at just how much warmer it gets this weekend. Spring, almost summer-like, Jason, Saturday and Sunday.
Spring is almost sprung for us here. We're looking at a pretty decent drive overall for us this morning. But out to the eastern plains, you see the camera bouncing around. Still pretty stormy in Kansas. It's still slick on parts of I-70. We still have part of 385 also out to the eastern plains closed down because of those adverse conditions. Take a look at the drive here in town. Only green for the most part with some slowing in some spots. We still have this railroad work that's happening here in Broomfield between Miramonte and Dillon, and so you're going to have to use, let's say, Midway or Miramonte over to 136. Then you can use Aspen or Sheridan to get around it over to Dillon Road. That's going to be in place 24/7 as they're continuing that railroad work. Let me take you to downtown here, I-25, 38th Avenue, Park Avenue West. There's that bridge. It's all stacked up for the construction. Did a story about that. You can read it right now on the denverchannel.com or on the Denver 7 app. And you can go down to 20th Street, get around it, and avoid these delays right now into downtown Denver. You can also see the rest of the drive looks pretty standard, including out there across the south side of town. A little bit of extra slowing on 225 for you this morning.
It's a difficult day for so many in Colorado. Today marks 1 year since the lives of 10 people were cut short by a gunman at the King Soopers in Boulder.
We want to take a moment to recognize them. They are Denny Stong, Nevin Stanisic, Ricky Olds, Trelana Barkowiak, Suzanne Fountain, Terry Leiker, Officer Eric Talley, Kevin Mahoney, Lynn Murray, and Jody Waters. Each of them were valued members of the community. They were mothers, fathers, business owners, and dear friends. The redesigned Table Mesa store is closed today to honor them.
And we have special coverage this morning. Christian Lopez has a look at the resource center that is still providing comfort to people a year after the tragedy. Let's start with Colette Bordelon outside Boulder Police Headquarters. And Colette, people have been coming by to leave mementos on Officer Eric Talley's police vehicle to honor him for his bravery.
Yeah, and as you know, Nicole, Officer Eric Talley was the first to get to that scene that day a year ago. He rushed inside, saving lives by giving his own. But really, his memory and the mark that he made on this community isn't through the way that he died. It's through the way that he lived. Take a look right behind me at this cruiser where there are flowers, cards. There's even a tiny little toy police car that someone wrote Talley on. Now, I remember standing out here last year. It even gives me chills to be out here again this year and see this site once again. But I watched as people came out from the department and placed their own tokens of who Officer Talley was to them. Things like a Mountain Dew can with a little note on it. Those little things that make the man behind the badge. Now, at his funeral service, it was said Officer Talley didn't have his life taken. He gave it for this community. He was 51 at the time, a father to 7 children, and had been with the force for just over a decade. During his memorial, a poem and prayer written by his children on Christmas of 2019 was read, and in it, they call Officer Talley their unsung hero. We spoke with his direct supervisor, who told Officer Talley's family what had happened that day. He says when he did, Officer Talley's kids jumped into action, comforting him in their darkest hour, a true reflection of the father they had.
I think he didn't sit down very well and didn't enjoy being bored. So he had a very big thirst for life in general and for helping people. He genuinely, deep down, cared about the community and the people that he was dealing with, and that was absolutely reflected in his quality and level of police work.
The public's invited to come by anytime if they want to take a moment to remember fallen officer Eric Talley and just pay their respects. We greatly appreciate it.
This car will be out here until tonight. Anything left on it will either be given to Officer Talley's family or saved right here at the police department. Now, shortly after his death, Officer Talley's father released a statement saying his son was actually training to become a drone operator. He wanted to get off of the front lines and make sure his family never went through anything like this. Live in Boulder, Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
He was the epitome of a community service officer and first responder. Thank you, Colette. Officer Talley's name will be added to the National Police Memorial in Washington, D.C. in May. His name has already been added to the Boulder Police Memorial. He is the 7th officer in Boulder to be killed in the line of duty. Also, just yesterday, President Biden signed a bill officially renaming a Boulder post office in honor of Officer Eric Talley. Colorado Representative Joe Neguse introduced the bill last year, and every other Colorado representative sponsored it. You can find the Officer Eric H. Talley Post Office building now at 15th and Walnut in Boulder.
The city is holding several events today, and as part of the memorials at 2 p.m., the police department will have a line of duty death commemoration for Officer Talley. You can watch that in front of the Boulder Police Department or through a live stream. At 2:30, no matter where you are, you're encouraged to observe a moment of silence. There will also be a gathering at 4:30 at the community band shell. The Boulder Strong Resource Center opened after the shooting to provide mental health support for the community. Denver 7's Christian Lopez joins us live now. And Christian, a year later, the needs have changed, but counselors are still working to help people dealing with trauma from that day.
Yeah, Nicole, they are. They're still helping around 200 people a month. And here outside of the King Soopers store this morning, just a little while ago, we saw some people stop by and hang up these signs that you see here that say Boulder Strong, and that large sign that has the name of the 10 victims. Now, that resource center this week, they've seen a lot more people coming in, and they expect more today on this painful milestone. It's a really great healing space for anyone who needs it. They have massage therapy, yoga, they have comfort dogs that go in. It also features a beautiful art therapy room, and there are counselors ready to help. And because healing works in a complicated way when there's a traumatic event like this, the center saw some people coming in for help right away, but for others, it could take a little while longer. So someone who maybe didn't need help a year ago may be needing it now, and the center is here to support them and meet them where they are in the healing process.
One thing that's really important to mention for people is that any kind of feeling is normal. So some people might be feeling numb, they might be feeling angry, they might be feeling scared, they might be feeling sad. All of those feelings are normal and valid, and that's why our counselors are here as well, just to support people where they are.
And the center is located on Baseline Road, and they're open 6 days a week. You don't need an appointment, and they will be there today if you need them. We're live in Boulder this morning. I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
All right, thank you, Christian. And while today, of course, is focused on the victims and the healing, we know some of you are wondering the status of the suspect in the shooting. Doctors believe he will soon likely be considered competent to stand trial. There's a review hearing set for April 15th. Until then, a judge has ordered him to the state mental hospital in Pueblo. Boulder Strong was a phrase that came out of the tragedy, and the spirit is still alive a year later. In our next half hour, we're talking to community members about resiliency, and we'll tell you how 2 of the 10 victims are being remembered and how the Colorado Healing Fund is using millions of dollars that you donated to support Boulder.
Still ahead, a warning from the White House about Russia's latest move as its invasion of Ukraine stalls. Plus,
members of this committee, if I am confirmed, I commit to you that I will work productively to support and defend the Constitution and this grand experiment of American democracy.
It is day 2 of historic hearings for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first African American woman nominated to the U.S. Supreme Court. What's expected from today's questioning? Also, as this year's ski season is winding down, we're getting a look at how much more ski passes will cost for next year.